Welcome back to This Week in Indies. As we end 2023 and head into 2024, how do we organize and prioritize our thoughts for this? Not going to lie, this graphic, it's a little autobiographical. What strategies do we apply, and when is the best time to apply them? We will discuss this with our roundtable panel. Then, CL Cannon will be along for the last Indie Connection of 2023, as she gives us indie books that we might like if we're a fan of One Day in December by Josie Silver. And finally, the last time in 2023, we get to torture our panelists with a little 5-minute drill. So sit back, relax, enjoy the last This Week in Indies of 2023. Here's your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Indies. I'm your host, Joe Compton. I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't just screw all that up and not go solo there. But I've got all the great people here with me, as you can see. It's been a morning. It's been a year. 2023, you fucked us up good. So now we're heading into 2024, kicking and screaming, and we'll kick down the doors and hopefully do some good things out there this year. We'll talk all about that today. I just want to mention real quick that I did not get an Indie Connection this week. I'm hoping that Courtney is coming in. I don't know. So a little concerned, but that being said, we're going to keep going forward. And, if we have to cover the whole hour, I'll just have Jim start doing what Jim does, and that'll do it. So, but
I plead the fifth. And maybe the 19th.
I do want to mention, and this is funny because I don't know how many people are YouTube creators out there, but YouTube sent out a massive email talking about how they think that the easiest way to get seen is by smashing the like button. Well, they don't call it smash the like button. I call it smash the like button. But they said, to make sure to let your guests notice to hit the like button. So this is the number one way you can help the show for free. Help all these great indie artists get seen and get YouTube to kick us into their algorithm. So thank you very much. If you do that, I would really appreciate it. And Anita's here, and A.L. Mengel's here. Nice to see you both. Thank you so much. And look who else is here. My panel's here, and they're ready to talk about the 2024 toolkit that we're going to provide for all of you this morning. All right, so let's just go down the line. Tiffany, start us off, please.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Vega, and you can find me on Books by Tiffany Vega and on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited.
Awesome. Welcome. All right, Mr. Nettles.
What? I'm hitting the like button. Give me a minute. I am Jim Nettles. Just a bunch of stuff. I write a lot of fiction, nonfiction, do a bunch of workshops through Author Essentials workshops. I'm one of the founders over at Continual Convention, where I host a bunch of shows myself. I've got my own show and podcast, Creating Pros. I do a bunch of consulting work, and I'm just here to stir up shit.
Nice.
Happy Sunday.
Hey, happy Sunday. All right, Juliet.
Hey, everybody. I'm Juliet Rose. I am a cross-genre author of 9 current novels, working on my 10th. You can find me at authorjulietrose.com, and I'm happy to say I ended this year total with 26 awards and 43 overall for my books.
You're going to get some more kudos come a little bit later, but I can't talk about that right now. But I have something in store for you next week, so you might want to tune in.
Scary.
Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I write under the name SG Tosh. I write paranormal fantasy, contemporary gothic fiction. I have, I believe, 10 books out now over 2 series, one of which is currently in progress. And you can find out more about me at sgtosh.com. I'll have 2 books coming out next year at least. So
Nice.
looking looking to have a strong start to 2024.
Awesome. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So I don't want to kick the lying dog of 2023. I don't want to talk about that. Let's go forward. Let's not go backwards today. So I am curious because I think this is the thing that I think is the most frustrating for indies, especially, is because we're constantly marketing, we're constantly writing, we're constantly doing things. So when are you all preparing yourselves for 2024? When did you start your preparation? Because I think that's an important distinction for people to understand. When does really 2024 planning begin and when it should begin? So I'm curious from all of you, when you have all started to kind of put your 2024 together.
Well, for me, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. As you know, so everybody knows my computer's a little bit old and laggy. So 2024, hoping to buy a new computer. That's number one. We'll see how that works out financially. So in terms of writing, oh my God, hang on. All right. So my husband has our Alexa set up to respond to the C word, and now it's talking at me. Oh my God. Anyway, I hope you can't hear that, but
we can, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, everybody. I'm going to tell my husband about this, and he will be very embarrassed on behalf of.
You should have gone ahead and said, "Hey Siri." I mean, if you're going to do,
don't start, Jim. The whole show to be Alexa's behind.
This show is going great so far, by the way. So in terms of production, my 2024 started back in, I think it was April or something, because I set up my pre-orders for my books. So I knew what my new series in terms of output was going to be way, way long time ago. And I imagine I'll do something similar for future years going forward. In terms of events, that only just started recently because I only just started looking at doing live events in a regular type of manner. Normally it's the fall, October, November, when I do my best, because I write paranormal mostly, so that's when I do my best sales is Q4. So that's all just started recently, but I mean, I think I've been planning for the next year, probably 6 months out at least. And then looking at in terms of my main series, and then looking at where I can maybe slot in some other products over the next year, and really focusing on it this month now that I have some downtime. But
yeah, I know you're in the convention capital of the world, but
yes,
are you looking at venturing outside of Las Vegas this year?
I am looking at venturing. Mostly it's going to be in larger, non-specifically book conventions here in town.
Cool.
Because I've just been focusing on full book events and book festivals so far. So I'm, for example, next week I have a craft market that I'm going to, and I've started making contacts in that community, which is actually huge here. It's kind of surprising, the maker community here. And then I'll probably start doing some regional stuff up in Utah. Maybe start looking at LA, but I'm conscious of table fees. I want to keep that cost low, not to mention hotel and everything. So it'll be anywhere that I can drive to within a day, probably. And then 2025, if next year goes well with live events, I'll be looking wider in 2025.
Hang on, at the end of the show, I got a suggestion for you.
Okay.
In Vegas, actually, too. So
sweet, perfect.
All right, everybody else.
well, I mean, go ahead, Tiffany.
No, go ahead.
Well, Joe kind of, so I run on kind of a rolling 24-month calendar. Just because I'm already booking stuff right now for 2025 and 2026. So, and I know that goes beyond my 24-month calendar, but mostly I run on a heavy 24-month calendar because the number of live events and stuff that I do, I've got certain things that just are scheduled in already. And one of the things I've been doing is trying to figure out what I'm shifting up on my on what events I'm going to next year on my live schedule for next year and the following year, because I'm cutting back a little bit on some of the live events. for book stuff to go shift into some other spaces that I'm working in as well. But the other thing that I'm doing on that calendar right now is not only writing, but we've got our calendar for continual. I produce 3 to 4 shows a week. There where I'm hosting, writing, producing, doing all that kind of fun stuff that we do. So that's already kind of locked in. I've got certain trips and things that are booked in for conventions, events, stuff like that. And, with the workshop stuff that we're relaunching, I'm having to plot all that in. Then I already batch all my writing time. So I've got titles that I might have 2 books that are under contract that are both, I had to duck as the deadlines whiz by, that I'm kind of having to go heads down. And that'll be a lot of my heavy January, February is working on those to try to get those done and out the door. So I can be working on the next round of stuff that's already been committed. So, but I kind of have to run on that longer term calendar, because if I don't, then A, I start missing things, or B, I start going in, as Joe will tell you, stay slightly overcommitted or should be committed. I don't know which one.
Should be committed. For me, I try to plan my production schedule out like 2 years in advance, and it never works out. It never does. But it gives myself a starting point to what to expect for the next 2 years, like what I should be writing on, what I need to drop. But then when it comes to like events and stuff like that, it's very much at the like this time of the year. I try to set myself up. Okay, I want to do that event, this event, and it all depends on whether you get it or you don't get it. So an overall picture of 2 years, but then it kind of goes by 6 months. Set myself up for what I want to do for the next 6 months.
Sorry, my mouse is giving me all kinds of trouble, so I apologize. Juliet?
Yeah, so it depends on what it is specifically. Like for books, I usually plan out at least a year in advance because I know kind of like when I'm going to be putting books out up to at least a year in advance. Broad kind of plans like I'm going to branch out more in the region is like a 2-year out plan. So kind of like I think Sarah said, I look at, this year my focus is things within the driving distance. And in 2025, I'd maybe like look at getting an RV and travel further. So I have kind of those broad plans. And then as far as events, I really kind of stick closer to the hip on that one, simply because plans change. As I learned in the last week, you never know what life's going to throw at you. And I don't want to commit myself to too far out, not knowing really where life is going to take me.
Yeah, I know that events tend to understand that people's lives change and that things happen, but I think all of us here would agree it feels horrible when you have to pull out of a live event because of things that are happening. A.L. Mengel says, I tend to plan well in advance since 2023 concluded a book tour. And also when I drafted a memoir, I will be back into fiction in 2024 with my next book project that will be the bulk of the year. And then in 2025, we'll be back on my next tour with that new title headlining. I mean, it seems like everybody has an idea of what they're writing or what they're currently putting out in 2024, which is a great luxury for indies to have. Publishers have a schedule like similar to what indies are doing too. I think we've kind of adopted that aspect of it where, they know 2 years in advance what they're going to put out there, and they schedule it all, and then they put it on you to make the deadline. So in that sense, how much of what you've planned is a soft deadline, and how much for you is a hard deadline, and when, and how much are you looking at, the deadlines aspect of it? Are you concerned at all with that? Are you just kind of, this is a soft tentative plan and I'm okay if I don't reach that goal?
I think for me, if it's within 6 months, it's a hard deadline. Like I know that I need to commit to that and I need to follow through, because usually I've paid for things, or say with books, I've already started to put the word out there. Anything outside of 6 months tends to be a softer deadline for me.
I had to give myself a lot of grace this year because I had originally planned to put 3 books out, and I only put 1 out. But because of like trying to move and family issues, and we had a few deaths in the family, I had to give myself like grace, and everything was a soft deadline. I didn't even know I was going to be able to make my deadline for the book that I had promised to put out at Multiverse. Until like the week before, and I was like, finally, okay, everything's done, it's been edited, I can say yes, I can commit to it. This year I've already put pre-orders out, so everything is going to be a hard deadline. I have to get it done.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as I have pre-orders out April, September for the next book, so those are definitely happening. And I knew that that's what I was doing. And I was one of those kids that did my homework on Friday night. So like everything I have planned out, I have lots of padding in terms of time to get things done in case, because things will come up. Yeah, so that's how I kind of have it planned out right now.
No surprise, I was the kid who did his homework Monday morning on the car ride to school.
I did it the class before it was due.
What's homework?
So I'm alone in this. I see.
I like to do my homework far in advance. I still like that with school. Like I'm like, the minute the teacher gives it to me, I start working on it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, I conceptualize it. Let me put it this way: I conceptualize it, but whether my brain sticks with it is the harder part for me. So.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's a blend because there's certain things that are just, that's the hard and fast deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the, is there a contract involved? Because again, I do a blend, right? I'm not just pure indie. So, is there a contract involved? What does that mean? So those are relatively more hard contracts or hard dates, but there's other stuff that if I can, I tend to run on hard deadlines, but the last year and a half has sort of blown those to hell in a handbasket. So we've been catching up on all of that stuff with a couple of different projects. So now that I'm about dug out of that hole, hopefully I can get back on my normal chaotic schedule, not the usual level of beyond chaotic.
And Andy says, I'm the emperor of procrastination. I run on the ragged edge of disaster.
Me too.
That's a great statement right there. I run on the ragged edge of disaster.
I need pressure. I'm like that pressure pot. I need to be like right, almost too late.
Yeah, it's crazy. Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, but if you never allow for free time, you're always behind and everything's on fire. So that just keeps you like lit and going, right?
Yeah. Andy says, I will have a hard deadline for my next manuscript since there will be a marketing build-up for the new title, release, and then tour. I set pre-orders to light the fire. Soft deadline for other projects, such as additional chapters and of his videos will be filmed in 2024. Yeah, I mean, I like Jim. I don't really have a choice sometimes because I'm working with people. I have a contract involved and I have to get stuff done. It's partially why I have to go off the grid to get things done, because if I allow social media to get involved with my routine, then I'll never get anything done. It's just the way it works. But which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that I'm so, sought after and liked and want people to talk. People want to talk to me, but it is sometimes that you just want all the noises to go away and just focus, right? And put yourself in a position to focus a little bit more. I am curious in terms of the pre-order aspect of things, because that's a luxury we also have that we can put out there. And 6 months, there's always been a school of thought of what the difference is. Is it 6 months? Is it 2 months? Whatever the case may be. I think 6 months has been a pretty good buffer zone for everybody. But when you're putting that kind of pressure on yourself and putting that out there, is there a certain thing you do with your routine to make sure that you reach that goal? Or is there something you're looking at maybe for 2024 to try so that you can reach that goal? Is there something you're working on to kind of get yourself in the mindset to get to that goal?
I can go first on this one.
Yeah.
So for me, I set my pre-orders up a year ahead of time, and that was because this is a new series and I want readers to be confident that it's coming. So they don't just jump in and it's like, oh, there's nothing. Because I know there's a school of thought where people don't read series until they're done, which I could go on forever on that, but I won't. So that's why I did it so far in advance. Book 1 went fine. I got that done way early because I wanted to do a lot of pre-marketing and art distribution and stuff. Book 2, I thought I had all this time, and then all of a sudden I had to have the manuscript done in 2 weeks to hit my deadlines, and I had written maybe half of it. So long story short, that one ended up being way late. So for book 3 now, I've back scheduled, and I'm like, okay, here's how long conceivably it takes me to write this much with, a little bit of buffer. Here's how long I want to give my editors, my beta readers, and here's how long I want for marketing. And I've applied that. So I have a very clear schedule now. And I've done it for every potential future book in that series too. So kind of screwing up the schedule on book 2 actually, I think, helped me a lot for the future series. But back scheduling is how I'm approaching it now.
Nice.
And this is technically my first pre-order to a series. It is the second book the first one I just released in October. So this is the first time I've ever done a sequel pre-order. And but the good thing is I wrote all 3 books in the series before I released the first one. So I'm just working on beta reading, edits and stuff like that. So I don't have to write the whole book in between my first series that I put out. And then to make sure that I can hit the thing, I usually set a word for each year. And my word this year is no. So it's just a reminder to tell myself to tell people no more often instead of overbooking myself and trying to make everybody happy. So it's something I'm going to try to implement so I can hit my deadlines. Because, if I don't release a book or I push back a book, I'm losing money. So I have to remind myself this is your business. You have to kind of stick up for yourself.
Nice.
Yeah, usually if I'm doing pre-orders, they're already done. They're sitting there in the bank. They're ready to go, and just set up the pre-orders, go ahead and schedule them, and then time them to drop. The holiday book that was supposed to come out this year that's still sitting in edits because I ran out of time. But when that'll be done in January, I'll go ahead and set that up and schedule it for pre-orders to go up, to start dropping in September of next year, things like that. For other things that are coming, but usually if I'm setting up the pre-order, the book is at the 95% mark, maybe last edits, things like that. Or if I'm doing trilogy series, stuff like that, it's usually either all done or close to done. If it's a trilogy, 2 of the 3 are done, edited, and ready to go before I'll schedule the third, just because I know what my schedule looks like. And I'd rather make sure that it's all reasonable on my schedule to hit that. So it's when I do pre-orders, they're usually either done or pretty damn close to.
How about for you, Juliet?
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's about the same for me. I'm not I don't extend out pre-orders. I have serious imposter syndrome. So I have to make sure something's 100% ready to go and that I can meet that deadline before I even think about setting a pre-order. So I tend to only do them about 2 months in advance.
So you guys all talking about the writing stuff, which I love. But as we've discovered, if anybody was out there watching Friday night, we on the late night news, we talked about an author survey that was released by mass media, and it talked about the scary aspect of marketing. If most authors hated marketing, that was the universal consensus. But it also talked about how much time that they spend marketing, which by the medians that they had set, they were spending more time marketing than they were writing. So how much of that is put into your plan for 2024? How much of your 2024 have you designated for marketing, and when did you start to figure that out?
Well, I'm hiring somebody this year.
Okay.
That is my goal, is to hire somebody to help me with marketing, kind of like do marketing for me, because I hate it with a passion. I'm not good at it. And I've underdone marketing, and I like kick myself. And I always have this like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put so many TikToks out, so many, reels, and so many, ads out. And I just don't have enough time in the day. So my goal is to hire somebody so I don't have to worry about it.
I'm daydreaming about the day when I can hire somebody.
I know. I was like, yeah, that's not an option. I think for me, I try to balance marketing with writing, because marketing can end up absorbing so much of your day. Once you start kind of getting into it, you're like, okay, now that's all I've done. So I try to alternate. I either market or I write. I try to market in the afternoons, write in the mornings, but there's times where, like I have to decide which is more important at that time. On average, I say an hour a day, but it's just hit or miss.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I've tried doing the like write in the morning, market in the afternoon, or vice versa, and it just hasn't worked for me. One will inevitably bleed into the other, and it's just a mess. So I think I'm going to start just breaking up my days, really, and just saying like, I'm not marketing today. I'm just writing. We'll see how that goes.
Do you want me to go on my rant?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to say the same thing we do, and I've taught the same thing with authors, writers, creative business, as well as the same thing as I've done with attorneys, gaming, everything, right? When you're running a small business and you're doing it yourself, and everybody hates these numbers, but if you are in the first 2 years, you're looking at 70% of your time is marketing. Unless you're paying somebody to do that, which means you're still allocating money to buy back that time. And you got to figure out what the resources you've got. But yeah, if you're in the first 2 years and you're trying to get stuff out there, you're looking at spending 70% of your time marketing. As stuff ramps up, then you can ramp down how much of that time you're doing marketing, especially in publishing, because as you build a bigger back catalog, that becomes the most important part of your marketing, because now you've got more to sell, which means you can now actually make money. Because if you only got 1 or 2 books, you're not making money anymore. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And so from a marketing standpoint, it's about starting to figure out, because again, the number one question I always get is, do I have to be on social media to market? And the answer is no, but it's going to severely limit what your options are. So, I spend probably close to 50-60% of my time is in marketing some way, shape, or form at events, with Continual, being here on Go Indie and harassing Joe and fucking up his day. Love you. But, but legitimately, probably 50+% of my time still goes in some way, shape, or form to marketing, market building, awareness. But a lot of the stuff that I do from that perspective is not just, hey, buy my books. It's, it's educational material we put out. It's a lot of the other content we put out. So it's not pure marketing, but the more that you can shift from come buy my book to selling yourself as a brand and having people get to know who you are, that's how you then get them on mailing lists and have them follow you on social media and ultimately want to come in and buy books because they like you. Because fundamentally, there's a number of authors that I used to love to read that, as I've gotten to know some over the years, is like, yep, can't read their stuff anymore. But that's fundamentally marketing, is telling your story. And that's what nobody likes to hear, that answer.
Actually, I do want to say, I don't know where you are.
I don't either. So I'm in the desert. It's all right.
But that's something I think that I'm moving more towards focusing on in 2024, is the brand aspect of this thing. Like, especially as I do more live events, like what experience am I offering outside of just the books? Like that, looking at it as like an experience, because that seems to sell easier too.
Well, that leads me into the next aspect of what I wanted to talk about, which is how much are you planning your event aspect of what you're doing? I mean, do you have an idea of, are you planning events around book launches? Do you have are you looking at pricing at this point of what you're going to offer people, or all those things you're thinking about right now? Or do you wait till the event to kind of assess all that and where you're at?
So for me, since I'm doing a lot of event planning, or I'm starting to for 2024, that's all stuff that I'm working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And understand, like, I don't have any events planned for 2024 yet. So I'm doing all of that kind of work right now, well before I have anything scheduled. I haven't done it yet, but that's what, the next few weeks are for.
But that's what you're looking at. All of those assessments is what you're going to charge people and what you're putting out there, and what event's going to have what.
Yep, exactly. And what I'm going to market over, different times of year, and looking.
How many books do I have to freaking buy? Right?
Yeah. Oh my God. I have to figure out how to do that without spending all of my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for everybody else.
I would say for 2023, I did a lot of events, and what I did was they were like my tester events, like what sold, what were my price points, right? Which ones were worth it? Which ones did I take a loss on because of hotels or whatever? And so my event planning has a lot to do with my research from last year to say, this isn't really worth it because by the time you pay the fee, the table fee, and then the gas, and then the hotel, you're not breaking even. Or so really what I'm looking at now is, what events make the most sense financially, and then for my market as well. So who's going to be at those events? Do my books speak to them? So that's really where I'm looking at my events this year.
Nice.
For me, I have to coordinate events between my books and then my other business. So I have, I think, probably 5 events scheduled already, and waiting to hear from like 2 more. So one of them is around a book launch, which is in April, and then, or in March, and then I have one in May. And for me, it's the craft ones for my business is usually in Arizona. The book ones seem to be out of state, so there's a lot more planning for the out of state ones.
Yeah, right now I'm scaling back, and I think I'm only committed to 9 events next year, where I have to travel. In the book sense, there's other events and stuff too. So, but my goal is to not be on the road 80% of the time next year, because pretty much I was not home most of this year. From I think January till October, I think I was home a total of 7 weekends, maybe. So I'm actually scaling back a little bit, but part of that ties into some of the other stuff that we're doing, like the game company we're building, some other stuff that we're doing. So I've actually got to scale back a little bit to be able to work on the stuff that we're putting out. But that also means I'll be doing some other events that we're helping to actually implement some of our technology at. So it's not that I'm going to be on the road that much less or at fewer events, but it'll be some of what we'll be doing at some of them as well.
And this is a guy who goes to local. You probably attend 30 local events a year, maybe in North Carolina.
Between North Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, Tennessee, around, I probably do on and just stuff with it. If we count the stuff that we just do in Charlotte and around here, probably 30.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
But in terms of like major events and stuff like that,
Dragon Cons and
12, 15.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that cutting back is I'm sitting here with Patrick Dugan texting because we're putting something together local.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, like because you would think where I live, it's affluent for a lot of events, but it's not. The Northern California stinks. I have to go to Southern California, and everything's super expensive in Southern California. But then the events that I look at to go to, I have to make it worth my while to go to, right? Networking wise and idea wise. And I don't sell at these events because I just don't have anything out right now to do that. But I'm constantly selling myself, so I count that as, you know, this is the more tough. This is what you get, everybody. I'm sorry, but
Bobblehead dolls available.
you know,
in
it's
2024.
worth it. Well, maybe it's, I don't know. The Tiffany and Jim and Julia can tell you if it's worth it or not. That, you know, that this is what you get when you see me. But you know, for that aspect of it, I look at what the scale is and what and you know the benefit for me is and everything like that. So and like Tiffany, I have to plan my travel and everything like that, which I've already done. I've planned all my stuff out for 2024 already. I know exactly. I have one flight to pay for, and then I'm all good. So I pay for everything else, so or put everything else together. So I'm pretty set in what I'm going to do. Well, actually, now I'm adding stuff, so I shouldn't say that. But you know, that's just the way it goes. But anyway, I mean, so yeah, putting that together. Andy's been in the chat to telling us about everything he's doing, so I wanted to get his stuff up here. He wrote his books while on a lengthy pre-order. He says it's stressful but motivating. The pre-orders were 9 months, and that writing under pre-order brings a sense of urgency to the business aspect. My publisher used to tell me before they folded, if we're gonna put a pre-order out, you better have stuff done. You know, so I can relate to that. But I think everybody, I think running under the guise of having it 95% done is a pretty good plan for pre-order. Pre-order for gradual marketing build-up helps complete the funnel with a buy link and promotions that take place during production. I place marketing periods peppered throughout the day based on my top markets to shift back and forth between writing and marketing. For example, India is one of his top markets, and his books are on Flipkart, their version of Amazon, and I must consider time changes for that market. My tours are not sales-based tours. They're networking-based, so minimal overhead, but my tours focus on personal connection, no pressure of sales, and funnel creative online purchase. Yeah, that's the beauty of this being what I'm marketing. I don't have the pressure of, you know, having to make my number. You are the brand. Yes. That's very true. So I'm wondering if anybody's willing, and if you all want to keep this close to your vest, I understand. Anybody willing to share something they tried in 2023 that didn't work for them, that they're going to chuck in 20 and not use in 2024? Divvy, you're muted.
Tiffany, you're on mute, but I figured that was the intentional part. I did.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk. You know, selling myself is no good. No, like marketing, I'm going to just hand it off to somebody else because not that I'm not good at it. It's just I don't have the time to make myself good at it. And what I've tried so far is just not. It doesn't seem to work. So.
Yeah, there's so many like little things you try that you kind of scrap initially, like trying maybe different websites, see about their promotion, things like that. I'll try everything kind of once and then figure out, yes, this did work, this didn't work. Kind of was saying about going through those test periods to see, I don't want to name certain websites, but I've definitely decided, okay, yeah, I tried a promotion through a website. They put my book out and nothing really happened. Obviously, I'm not going to do that again. And the same thing with conventions. I have to really look at like, yes, this convention, and as wonderful as they are to meet people, not everybody has the financial ability to take that money just to meet people or to socialize. So like I had to really say, which conventions really either, broke even or got me followers or whatever, and which ones didn't. And then obviously not going to go back to the ones that did again this year.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same boat. There were two things I tried this year that I won't do again. One was when my book came out in September, I got accepted into the new release for less deal on BookBub, and it was an amount of money that I was okay losing. And it didn't really, I don't think I did okay on my release month, but I don't know that any of what I got was from that. So I won't be doing that again. And again, that's the new release for less, not their regular deal. I haven't gotten into that one yet. And then the other thing was, And this one I kind of knew wasn't going to work out, but there was a local event here, I believe back in September sometime. That was a book fair at a, not in a church, but like in a community center attached, like affiliated with a church. And my books are all like paranormal, scary, like monstery, and not particularly Christian. And that one, I'm pretty sure I'm not invited back anyway. But even if I was, I think I'd probably say, I mean, like at the end of it, they were walking around, like the woman who was in charge of it was walking around getting everyone's contact information. So she could let everyone know the next event came up. And she walked by my booth and just looked at my covers and she was like, "Thank you for coming," and walked away. So I just laughed. I was like, yeah, that feels right.
As long as you're not sending an exorcist to your house, it's fine.
Exactly. Nobody handed me any pamphlets.
Any experience.
It's all good.
How about for you, Jim? Did you try anything that? Well, you
we're
don't
always
have
trying
regrets.
stuff, right?
You're pretty fearless.
Well, so because I can say there's things that we did for my stuff we did for different clients, or stuff we did in some different partnerships and things like that. And so one of the first things becomes that, well, I did it once, it didn't work, I'm never going to do it again. And that usually means that you've missed something, because one of the things that we see, especially with technology, is sometimes you have to do something a couple of times to figure out how to make it work before it will work for you. So it's never that, oh, that didn't, I tried that once, I'm never going to do that again. There have been conventions I've been to that I was like, yeah, we'll never do this one again. And that are still on my list of, yeah, that's nice. No. And there's a couple of them I've gotten invitations for it. And like I said, I love doing conventions and doing the live events. But one of those things becomes the idea of, yeah, you go once, you kind of gauge the audience and who's there and how things can work and everything else. And there's some that I love to do, but a lot of the conventions around here are packed in time. So it's occasionally you've got to be home. Like right now, I'm having to make a decision between two events that I want to do, but they both book in something else. I've got to be home at some point in April. So that's usually where I'm making those decisions. But more tactical things that, oh, okay, let's go try this and see if it works or not. Usually, unless it's something that absolutely shows and says, no, this was not the right audience, no, this is not the right market or anything else, it becomes, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And how do we shift it to make those tactics work better? And sometimes it didn't work means it just didn't hit the target goals I had. It may have had positive results, but it didn't hit necessarily I wanted. Or other times it just fell absolutely flat. And you look and go, what the hell? This should have worked. Yeah. But one of the things that we have to look at as well is the market in 2023, especially starting from about summer on, went off a cliff for the publishing industry. And actually it has largely for the year, but we can blame a lot of that on the amount of crap got cracked out from, people cranking out stuff with ChatGPT or, all those sorts of things. We can see the reasons that affected the market, and now it's starting to come back and recover in some ways. But so I did a show yesterday with Ariel Burgess, who did a lot of the art for like Wheel of Time and stuff. And, we were talking about her art and the issues that they have now, proving that they're the artist and they created it. It wasn't just done with AI, which is just one more thing to do to prove it's really my work. And this, I think, is one of the biggest changes that came out of the last about 15 months is with Gen AI, is how that shifted the market and has created a bubble in the last year that is now starting to bust and recover, but it's affected everybody else that in ways that I don't think they understood how it was affecting. And we've been watching the data.
It shut the entire film industry down for an entire year. I mean, as somebody who's on somewhat of a little bit of an inside right now, it is crazy the amount of energy that is being thrown right now into the everybody's like, we got to get this done and get this done now. There's a lot of productions that were on hold that are just ripping through now trying to get done because there's nothing out there. It's starting to the landscape is starting to look a little more barren. So you can't have that in that industry. It's got to have constant fluidity and constant things churning out. And it's now, so everybody's rushing to get things done. I mean, in the 50 years of my lifespan and the 25 that I've spent around that industry, I have never ever experienced a season in which even during the pandemic, I had never experienced a season where pilot season has been pushed back before. That is unheard of in this business, and it has happened because for a year everybody was worried. Am I crossing a line? Am I doing this or doing that? And so this is what happens when things go off the rails. And AI was a large part of why that was being pushed that way. So that discussion lasted almost an entire year for that industry. So creatively it's crazy. And the deadlines are spiraling. So
it's a lost year.
Yeah I mean and the publishing industry hasn't felt that yet because we're all independent contractors, and for the most part, even the like I said, publishers, I think that's part of the business model. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but part of being recession proof is we're going to get enough titles in our bank to push out for a couple of years so that we don't have to worry about if there was a slow time where we can't put something out, right? So
well, and probably the biggest thing that for it, because if you're indie, you know what you put out, right?
Yeah.
You're putting your name on it. You're attesting this is mine. It's mine. But when you're going to a publisher, and especially small and mid-sized publishers, that went through getting inundated with garbage, that pretty much stopped taking submissions unless they knew you, right? Or unless you were going through an agent or a gatekeeper. This is really going to revitalize agents and kind of that process, where that process has really been slipping outside of like the big four, big five, depending on what time of day it is. Agents were kind of sliding in the mid-size. Well, now we're seeing a lot of you in the mid-size publishers come back and say, if I don't know you or you don't have a way in, you're never going to be seen in the slush pile. If you are going through, and I mean, publishers, because they got inundated, they backslid. One of the other big things that I'm sort of tangentially on is that Amazon, a lot of small presses and a lot of small publications were doing subscription magazines, right?
Yeah.
Well, they were doing all that through Amazon. Amazon shut that down with next to no warning. So people with large subscriptions lost their entire base. And if you're writing short fiction and things like that, that was a big base. And there's a couple of projects let's just call attached to that. Now they've had to shift and go and say, well, we're going to do like a quarterly book. We're going to do, because now they don't have a mechanism to do this. I actually working on a project where we have a competitive product we're trying to launch that will actually fill that technological niche. And so that's one of the things that probably means I didn't get some writing done, but it has a bigger impact on the market. But if we talk about what has hit us in the last year, Amazon's made some shifts with next to no warning that have hammered people. If we look at what the EU is doing with their regulations around AI, how that's going to come through, how some of the AI stuff has flowed through everything, and people are starting to lock it down. Amazon, Facebook, you name it. That stuff that has all impacted how creators can make a living. The other side of that, though, is we're seeing some platforms like YouTube and the ability to monetize stuff that you may be giving away like audiobooks, but you can still monetize it and build audience that way with older material and revitalize older material and still monetize it, build audience in a new way. And this is going to be the hardest thing for for creatives, period, and for every business owner, is going to be, how do I create myself and break through that noise?
Yeah, we did a show on the subscription model a few weeks back. If you all want to check that out, it's a show with Rosemary. It was the show after Multiverse, so it was the first week of November. If you guys want to check that out, talking all about what Amazon did there and the lack of transparency that they had. Gee, go figure. Amazon lack of transparency. I mean, that should be their new logo. Just, we have a lack of transparency here. You know,
it's a big black box with a smile.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is there something in 2024 to round out this conversation and get us out of here before I torture you all with 10 questions of beautiful torture that I have? Is there something in 2024 you are trying or you're looking at that you've planned for? Maybe you wanted to do a while ago, and you're gonna go, you know what, 2024 sounds like a good year. I want to kill myself. I want to hurt myself in 2024. Why not try something new, right? So, is there something you're doing that you want to share with us that maybe you're trying in 2024?
So for me, I talked about this on the last video I was on when we were looking at 2023. But I'm recommitting myself to video, specifically TikTok. I've dabbled a little, but I haven't really given it a fair chance. And I know you don't need it to sell books, but it feels like an opportunity that I should take, at least give it a shot. So I'm going to do that. Also, kind of continuing with the video idea. I was at a conference recently, and there were some people that were talking about live streaming their writing process, which sounds way too stressful and scary. But I do a Monster of the Week series on my Facebook, and there is some research and some image creation that goes into that. And I thought that might be kind of fun to live stream. So I'll give that a shot. But video in general.
They said that nobody would ever sit and watch people play video games, and it's the number one thing that people watch and do on Twitch. So, I've seen people stream their writing process and what they talk through it and everything like that. I mean, it is a little fascinating, but I'm kind of the target audience for that, so I don't know outside of that what it does, but it seemed like it got some traction from the couple people I've watched do that. So I think it's worth it. And plus, you're awesome at video, so you're gonna knock it out of the park. So
thanks.
Anybody else? We're all just gonna sit on our laurels in 2023. Come on, guys.
I can go through the list of the plan for 2024 that if you want me to do that.
Well, no, because
not
that's
the whole list.
Itself.
We'd be here till Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I think probably the biggest things that I'm doing is I'm restarting doing a lot of the workshop stuff I've been doing. So they'll be live but available virtual. So we'll be using webinar technology and stuff like that. And they'll be recorded. So if you miss one, you'll be able to go back and view them, all that kind of good stuff. But we're also, as we're doing things, changing it up and adding some more platforms. We're taking video clips out of both my shows, stuff we're doing on Continual, some of the workshops. We're going to be taking more of the video clips of that and dropping those across video platforms, doing all that kind of stuff. And we're going to be adding on some new platforms next year, I think, for Continual. And there's a couple of tools that right now I'm in the process of testing out, setting up, to see what we can do to continue to expand that reach. And then the other thing I'm doing just on kind of my side is I am resetting. I wiped it out. We're starting from scratch with the YouTube channel and the Discord channel for all of my stuff, so that we'll be able to do AMAs, to be able to do a lot of that sort of stuff on those platforms as well. And so if anybody's interested in any of that kind of stuff, you want to know what we're doing with the business, you want to know what we're doing with workshops, we're going to be doing some of the freebie stuff again. So if you want any of that, just hop over to my website, jump on the mailing list, because y'all will be the first ones to get it.
Cool.
So next year, I have committed myself to really do something with my YouTube channel. It's just a writing channel. I also have another YouTube channel that I'm launching for my other business. But I have a podcast. It's called Scribble, 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 and it's supposed to be like my writing journey, but I'm turning it into a interview channel instead. So I'll be interviewing other authors on their progress throughout their writing journey. So that's the new thing that I committed myself to. So we've recorded like 3 episodes that will start in January, but that's going to be like one of the big focuses for next year.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've decided something I've always wanted to do outside of just publishing myself. I have a small publishing company. We're branching out. We have our first anthology that we're taking submissions for. I have an author that I'm going to be publishing their book in February. So I'm kind of branching out into that as well.
Yeah, everybody go check out Juliet's Kickstarter. And it's fantastic. It's a fantastic premise. So everybody go check that out. I know she's probably going to talk about that in a little bit, but I just wanted to say that because I think it is a fantastic premise. All right, you all ready? I'm changed the
Are you going to
screen.
talk through the whole thing this time so that we don't have time to finish?
I'll stop. There is a couple things I want to preface. So, but yeah, I will stop the clock. I promise. Okay, how about that? Let me put this back.
See, you're already starting us late. I mean,
Yeah, just stop. Relax. I will put it back. It's all good. Just relax. Okay.
I'm
All
always relaxed.
All right. I got 10 questions. Everybody ready to rock and roll? You all know how this works. I'm going to go Tiffany, Jim, Juliet, Sarah, Juliet, Jim, Tiffany. And we'll just go until Jim stops yelling at me. All right. Everybody ready? All right. Here we go. All right. I've already screwed it up. Hang on. Let me go back to I gotta get myself together. Okay. Okay. All right. What would you prefer, Tiffany? Time to slow for just a year, or time? Or God damn it! See, I wrote these questions and now I can't even talk. Okay. Okay.
Can I go make a cup of tea and we'll start over?
Bastard. All right. Here we go. All right, Tiffany. What would you prefer? Time to slow for a year or just stop for 48 hours?
Stop for 48 hours.
Jim?
Probably stop for 48 hours.
Juliet?
Slow for a year.
48 hours.
All right, Sarah. Best non-Christmas movie that takes place during the Xmas time.
Oh, Psycho.
Nice. Juliet?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Tiffany?
Die Hard.
That's a Christmas movie.
No.
I was hoping someone wouldn't say it.
I really don't know. I don't really pay attention to when movies
Okay, no problem. All right,
take place.
Tiffany, what best writing time, winter or spring?
Oh, winter.
Jim?
Before about 8 a.m. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Juliet?
Winter.
All right. Sarah?
I think winter, yeah.
Okay. Sarah, peppermint or pumpkin spice?
Pumpkin spice. I hate peppermint.
Right.
Peppermint.
Jim?
Peppermint.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't catch you, Jim, but that's fine.
I
if you
said
something.
peppermint.
Okay.
Burn
All right.
clock.
All right. I'm going to stop it real quick because I lost my train of thought. Okay. All right. Like more giving book mail or receiving book mail, Tiffany?
I like giving.
Jim?
Oh, I love sending that stuff out the door.
Juliet?
Giving.
Sarah,
Yeah.
giving? All right.
Yep, giving.
All right. Drinking at the holidays. Is it to make your relatives more tolerable or to make you more affable for them?
I like my relatives, so I guess the second one.
All right. Juliet?
I've been sober almost 4 years.
Fair enough.
Oh,
Jim?
we'll probably go with some of column A, a little bit of column B.
Tiffany?
Definitely making them more tolerable.
All right. Holiday trope you can get behind or still really enjoy, Tiffany.
Holiday trip. Probably going to like Disneyland. I love Disneyland.
Okay, Jim?
Watching The Grinch,
All right,
except for the
Julia?
last 5 minutes.
Do you say trip or trope?
Trope.
Trope.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I answered that wrong then.
You don't play Mrs. Caroling. Why is that not a thing anymore?
I agree. Sarah?
Okay, so I was thinking this was like a story trope. So like saving the small town, whatever, like
That's fine. Yeah.
store. Yeah.
That's
Festival.
cool. If that's what you like to read, that's cool. Or,
Watch.
invest in. Yeah. All right. Sarah, you get an invitation to the Christmas party at Nakatomi Plaza. Are you really going to go?
I think I have to.
Juliet?
You have to.
I actually don't know what that is.
Oh, from Die Hard.
Oh, from
Yeah.
Die Hard. Nah.
They have free booze. Of course I'm going.
Tiffany?
I'm going.
All right. Well, it was nice knowing all of you. All right. Tiffany, what was your favorite live event of 2023?
Oh, I love Multiverse.
Jim?
Oh, that's a hard one. But I'm going to say there was a couple things I did at Dragon Con this year that were definitively a blast.
Awesome. Juliet?
I had a lot of fun at the Georgia Pop and Horror Con in Columbus.
Nice. Sarah?
My dream is to eventually go to Dragon Con in a way that like is financially viable, but I loved the Las Vegas Book Festival. I know that sounds weird, but that thing is great.
Awesome. All right, Sarah. How many books will have your name on them in 2024?
Oh my gosh. It's going to be somewhere in the 14, 15 at least.
Nice. Juliet?
Probably about 3 or 4 of my own, and then at least 3 or 4 through the publishing.
Cool. Jim?
Depending on which name you're using, should cross the 25 mark.
All right. Tiffany?
Oh God, I'm such a baby. I'm only going to have 3 next year.
All right. All right. You guys did it. Woo! Yay. Feel all better now? Everybody good?
Yes.
I didn't talk
They
too
rejoiced.
much, did I?
And they rejoiced. Yeah.
All right. So let's run down through everybody and tell everybody where they can find your wonderful work so that everybody can go out there and spend some holiday money and shop for their folks. Sarah, start us off, please.
Yeah, so you can find me right here at sgtosh.com. You can also find my direct sales site. It's very, very tiny right now, but there are some holiday kind of special stuff, things happening there. I also, specifically, I want to call out my Christmas themed novella or novelette, Mr. Lucky, which you can send in an envelope for 2 stamps. And it's got a little like greeting card dedication page. So you can send it instead of a greeting card, which are going to get thrown out. And a book is a lot less likely to get thrown out at the end of the season. So you can buy that on Amazon and at my website, both.
What a cool marketing. That's awesome.
That's smart.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Juliet?
Okay, well, you can find my books at authorjulietrose.com, and then you can find information about the anthology at abovetheraincollective.com.
That's the Kickstarter, right, that you're doing?
Yeah, and that's the website for the anthology. People want to submit stories.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Jim?
Easiest way to find all the stuff I'm into is jamespnettles.com. That'll take you to the workshops company. That'll take you out to Continual Convention. That'll take you to Creating Prose. That'll take you to the Spec Fic Academy, which right now we're doing some retooling on. And if you want some good holiday reads, you can pick up The Krampus Clause by James P. McDonald, one of the names I write under, which is a nice, fun, young adult Christmas horror. One of the books that's selling really well right now is one of the ones that came out earlier this year, which is Fairy Films, We Folk on the Big Screen. I've got a piece in that one. And the second edition of the business book just dropped about a month and a half ago. So plenty of that. And if you got a question, just hit me up or, come by and stop and see us at Continual.
Nice. Tiffany?
And you can find me at Books by Tiffany Vega. You can find all my books there, signed copies. You can also find my books currently on Kindle Unlimited, all 4 of them. And but I'm not sure if I'm going to continue doing Kindle Unlimited next year. And you can find my podcast, my YouTube channel, all under Books by Tiffany Vega.
Nice. Awesome. Everybody go check those out. And just going now, thank you so much for joining us, for being here. Smash the like button, comment, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you do. I wanted to mention that the Indie Connection that was supposed to be here this week will be part of our show, which is our big finale for the year. Well, actually, I'm doing more shows past that, but this next Sunday is our This Year in Indies, where myself and several co-hosts of Go Indie Now will be unveiling their top 5 lists when it comes to indie movies, indie books, indie games, and indie albums. So I have everybody aligned for those, and I will be giving you my top 5 as well. And so join us for that. That's This Year in Indies, and we'll have the Indie Connection, the final Indie Connection of the year during that show, which is a really great one, and it's worth checking out. So everybody come and join us for that, and it'll be a wonderful show. And that being said, it's always time to go indie now. Let me get out of here. All right. And with that, we're gone. See you, everybody. Thank you for joining us.